You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and if you notice something different about the audio today, you're very perceptive. Basically what happened was the cable that connects my microphone to my computer broke just as I was recording today's show. Or about to record today's show, I should say. So, basically I'm recording this using a lavalier microphone, a clip-on microphone that you see newscasters wear, and it's recording into a camera. So, this is the best I can do. As of right now, I recorded a new cable. I ordered a new cable. See, this is the other thing about this. I can't go back and listen to where I messed up, so this is all in one take. See, with podcasting, you have the luxury of, if you mess up, you can go back and fix it. I don't have that luxury anymore, because I can't go into the camera and edit it. I have to wait until I'm done recording, take out the SD card, and then put the SD card into my computer. So, this is going to be fun. I do apologize for the inconvenience. Like I said, I ordered a new cable. It's going to get here when it gets here. Until then, this is the best I can do. Again, I apologize. But there's a lot to get to today. Namely, Major League Baseball's latest attempt to salvage a season. According to Carl Ravitch of ESPN, Major League Baseball has proposed a 75% prorated salary to players, along with a 76-game season. There will be playoff pool money, no draft pick compensation for signing players. So after this season, assuming there's a season this year, if you want to sign a free agent, you don't need to give up a draft pick to do it. The season will end September 27th, and the postseason will end in October. According to Evan Drellich of The Athletic, the Players Association regards this offer to be worse because it shifts greater emphasis on risk sharing in the postseason. Quite frankly, this may be the best we get. Alright? This may be the only way to salvage a season. And look, no one's happy with it. I don't think the owners are happy with it. They initially wanted 82 games. They're getting 76. They're not getting butts in the seats. They're not getting any of that sweet ticket revenue, concession revenue, merchandise revenue, none of that. Meanwhile, the players don't like that there's more proration or pro rata. I'm not sure what the correct word is. Basically, it's 75% of the prorated salary. So what I think that means is, if Garrett Cole is set to make, let's say, $10 million on a 76-game season, I know it's not $10 million, but that's just to make the math easy. If he's set to make $10 million on that prorated salary, he would make 75% of that. So that's $7.5 million. That's how I think this is going to shake out. Like I said, this may be the best we get. And the Players Association is going to have to come up with something if they don't like this. And they're going to have to do it quickly. All right, we're really close to Armageddon here. We're really close to no baseball. And I've said this before. Major League Baseball cannot survive a canceled season. You may not like this, Tony Clark, but it's the best you're going to get. All right? You dug your foot in. Congratulations. You got more of the prorated salary than you wanted. You got more games. Just accept this and move on. You don't have another card to play. At least I don't think you do. If you do, you better play it quickly. Because the NHL is going to be kicking off games soon. The NBA is going to be kicking off games soon. Major League Baseball cannot survive this. I mean, think of it this way. There is a real chance that the NBA becomes a summer sport. There is talk of the NBA permanently starting on Christmas and then going all the way into August. Major League Baseball used to own July and August. Now they won't. They'll only own the time frame between when the NBA Finals ends and when football begins. And that's a very short window. And even then, you've got the NBA offseason to contend with. You have the start of football to contend with. Major League Baseball needs to get something done quickly or else they're screwed. Alright? Quite frankly, I don't care who this benefits. I don't care who this hurts. You know who the real losers are here? The fans. It's the fans that are suffering. They're not the ones that are going to get baseball. Oh my God, these billionaires and millionaires are losing money. Oh, let me play you a song on the world's smallest violin. You've got to be kidding me. You're being penny smart, pound foolish. Unless the Players Association proposes something quickly and it's something that the league will accept, they need to accept this, or else there's no baseball. It's just that simple. And you know what? Quite frankly, I prefer no baseball to a 50-game season. A 76-game season, I can live with, because that's a little less than half the season. I can live with that. 50 games? No. Because here's what's going to happen with 50 games. The Players Association is going to sue the league. They're going to say that the commissioner is not acting in good faith here. Supposedly, the March agreement mandates that the league make a concerted effort to play as many games as possible. The Players Association is going to say that they didn't do that. Now, you can think they did or they didn't. The point is, the Players Association is going to sue the league. And they're going to refuse to play. There may be injunctions issued. And this is going to drag out for a long time. Just accept this, Tony Clark. You really don't have another option. Man, I don't even know how long that took. See, I record into Adobe Audition. I'll give you a peek into how the sausage is made. I record into Adobe Audition. And with Audition, you can see how long a show is taking. I don't have that here. I didn't start a timer. I should have started a timer. Man, this is weird. I don't know how bad the audio is going to sound. I know nothing. Ooh, man. This is fun. Moving on now to the NBA. And there are a lot of ticked off Nets fans. Kevin Durant confirmed that he's going to be out for the remainder of this season. Even when play picks back up, he's not coming back. Kyrie Irving was set to miss 6 months anyway, so it wasn't expected that he could come back. And there are a lot of Nets fans that are pissed. My friend Mark said that if the Nets were closer, Durant would have powered through it. Well, I don't think that's true. And to any Nets fan out there who really wants Durant to play, look, I get it. I want him to play too. You don't think he wants to play? I guarantee you that there's no one who wants to play more than Kevin Durant. But think about it this way. Is this the way you want him coming back? Do you really want him coming back for seeding games and the quote-unquote playoffs? I mean, quite frankly, while I don't think the NHL has an asterisk, the NBA might. I have to see how this all plays out. I'm still a little fuzzy as to how they're going to do it. I don't understand why they wouldn't just go straight to the playoffs. I know the players didn't want it. I understand that. They wanted the chance to play games before the playoffs, but just schedule preseason games. You know, this isn't how I want Durant coming back. I want Durant coming back with Kyrie Irving, preferably at the Barclays Center. If it's not at the Barclays Center, I can live with it. But I want him coming back with Kyrie Irving, both of them at 100%, just balling out. And I want them to lead the Nets to a title. And if Durant comes back, he's not going to do that. If Durant comes back, I don't think the Nets are winning the title. If he came back now, that is. I'm not saying if he comes back with Kyrie. If he comes back with Kyrie, the Nets are title threats. If he came back now, with this resumed season, they're not title threats. If Durant comes back with Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert as his best secondary pieces, the Nets are not better than the Clippers. They're not better than the Lakers. They're not better than the Bucks. I understand that everyone's starting at 0 right now. And there's a real chance that a team comes out of nowhere and goes on a crazy run. That's very possible. But I don't think it's going to happen. I picked the Clippers before this hiatus, and I'm still picking the Clippers. I think we're looking at a Clippers-Bucks NBA Finals with the Clippers winning it. I just think the Clippers are too deep, and the Bucks are too well constructed. But going back to Durant, this is the biggest reason why Durant won't come back. It has nothing to do with his Achilles. He had the coronavirus. This guy got COVID. Realize something. It's very dangerous what the NBA is doing. It's very dangerous what the NHL is doing. They're not going to be social distancing. They're not going to be 6 feet apart. They're not going to be in groups of 10 or less. Do you really think that Kevin Durant wants to come back when his risk of getting the coronavirus again is so much higher than it would be if he was just staying at home and working out? I mean, Kyrie Irving has said that he may be in the stands watching his team play. I don't even want him doing that. Stay home. please stay home. This year has always been gravy. Whatever's going to happen this year, it's irrelevant. It does not matter. Look, I understand it's tough, but this is what we signed up for with Durant. The coronavirus does not change that. I get that you're frustrated. You thought that your team had a real chance to go on a magical run to the NBA title. I'm with you there. I'm upset too that he's not going to play. But Durant's health comes first. We don't know what those antibodies mean. Once he had the coronavirus, he developed those antibodies. The thing is, we don't know what those antibodies do. There have been some studies saying that they decrease the risk of a second infection. There's some studies saying that they increase the risk of a second infection. We have no idea. I spoke to my uncle, who's a doctor, on the front lines of this in New Jersey. And he said that these studies are being published so quickly that we have no idea if any of them are really accurate. The scientific method has been thrown out the window. There's no peer review. There's no double-blind studies with control groups and stuff like that. That's been thrown out the door. So we really don't know what the truth is. All in all, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Durant isn't coming back. I know it stinks. I know it's unfortunate. But I'd rather he get to 100% and come back when there's no risk of the coronavirus. Moving across the Manhattan Bridge now, or the Brooklyn Bridge, to the Garden, and there are a couple Knicks stories that I want to talk about. The first one is that according to Mark Berman of the New York Post, the Knicks are open to trading Julius Randle. I'm okay with them trading Randle, but I wouldn't give him away. This guy is 25 years old and has been the Knicks' best player all year. Second in points with 19.5. The guy who's first in points, Marcus Morris, is off the team. First in rebounds with 9.7. Second in assists with 3.1. Don't give him away. He's signed for 2 more seasons at 19 mil and 20 mil. A little less than each, but I'm rounding up. That's a reasonable contract for him. Randle was actually a decent consolation prize. I understand that the Knicks missed out on all the big free agents, but Randle was a solid consolation prize. That was like the only free agent signing they made that I agreed with. In fact, if the nightmare scenario happened and the Nets missed out on Durant and Kyrie, I had no problem with the Nets bringing back Russell and pairing him with Julius Randle. I actually thought that tandem could have worked. The thing is, Julius Randle has been the Knicks' best player. He can't be the best player on a playoff team. He's a really good player. He's not great. Depending on what the Knicks can get for Randle, I have no problem with them trading him. But they've got to get at least a first-round pick and one really good young player. A guy who's cost-controlled, still on his rookie deal. In a perfect world, I'd even push for 2 first-round picks. I would not give Randall away. I like Randall. Solid player. The other Knicks story is that, according to Ian Begley of SNY, Mike Miller has support to stay as Knicks head coach. Or stay as an assistant coach, but I don't know how he'd feel about that. I think that Mike Miller has done a really good job with the Knicks. I mean, this has been a story that's been rumored for a while that Miller could stay as head coach. I don't mind it. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. My number one guy for the Knicks is Kenny Atkinson. It's not Tom Thibodeau. It's not Mike Woodson. It's Kenny Atkinson. It has to be Kenny Atkinson. But Mike Miller is probably my number two. I don't think Thibodeau can work with the Knicks. I think he'd clash too much with the players. Woodson maybe could work, but I don't like the idea of trying a head coach again who he already tried. And look, he had one great season. That 54-win team was a really good team. But I just don't see that ending well. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. He'd be my third choice. I know there are actually some Knicks fans that want Woodson back. They understand that he was the head coach of the team the last time they were any good. But Kenny Atkinson has to be number one. Miller has to be number two. See, the thing is with Mike Miller, everyone was saying when Fizdale was fired, he's not the reason the Knicks were playing so bad. And that's partially true. Fizdale's system was not working. Look, Fizdale got a lot of support from people around the league, fans, coaches, pundits, you name it. Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, and Eric Spoelstra all said that this wasn't Fizdale's fault. And when you have 3 NBA title-winning coaches going to bat for you, that's a good look. But the Knicks were playing so much better under Miller. David Fizdale, in his Knicks career, had a .202 winning percentage. Mike Miller has a .386 winning percentage. That's pretty darn good. If you extrapolate that out to a full season, the Knicks are finishing with about 30 to 32 wins, if my math is correct. For a team that only won 17 games the year before, that's pretty darn good. That's an impressive jump. I wouldn't mind Miller coming back for the Knicks, but I'd prefer Kenny Atkinson. And I'm saying that as an impartial observer. I am not saying that as a Nets fan. Moving on now to the Chicago Bulls. And according to Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times, Ime Udoka is the favorite to become the Bulls' next head coach. Jim Boylan is still their head coach, but the players don't like him, the fans don't like him. There's a new guy in charge in Karnisovas. He's going to want to bring in his own guy. Jim Boylan is not long for Chicago. Udoka would make sense. Former player, current assistant coach for the Sixers. Smart guy, knows the game inside and out. I really think this could work. Mark Eversley is the Bulls GM, and he was with Udoka in Philly. I don't mind Udoka being the next head coach of the Bulls at all. I don't really have an A1 guy for that job. I mean, maybe Atkinson, but I think Atkinson works for the Knicks. He'd work for the Bulls, too. See, the Bulls need a guy who's going to be able to get their young core to that next level. They've been knocking on the door for years. You know, there have always been people saying, hey, watch out for the Bulls. They have this great young core. They never do anything. And then they bring in a strict disciplinarian in Boylan. Boylan's terrible. Udoka could work. I think Ime Udoka would make perfect sense to be the Bulls' next head coach. I really, really do. Moving over to football now. And this story broke as I was editing Friday's show, but I knew there'd be an update to it, so I didn't record anything for Friday, and I was right. Manish Mehta of the Daily News, so immediately take it with a grain of salt, said that the Jets were trying to convince Kyle Long to come out of retirement. Long then said that he hasn't talked to the Jets. Kyle Long, at one point, was one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. This is a guy who was a perennial Pro Bowler. It looked like he was going to be the next Jimbo Covert. Instead, the injury bug bit him. And it's such a shame. He was such a great young player. But once he got hurt, he just kept getting hurt. According to Pro Football Focus, in 4 games last year, he had a 38 overall grade. The injuries had finally caught up to him. He wasn't that good. Big reason why Trubisky struggled. I mean, I'm not a Trubisky fan, but I'll grant him that his offensive line last year was not good. The year before that, he only played 575 snaps, 64.5 overall grade. He was still good, he just wasn't staying on the field. He hasn't played 1,000 snaps in a season since 2015. In the 3 seasons that he played 1,000 snaps, he never had a Pro Football Focus grade worse than 70. And in those 3 years, he made the Pro Bowl. But I just don't see it working with the Jets. For starters, they've already done so much with the offensive line, and I've said this a million times. They've already done so much with the offensive line, they don't need to do any more. Alright? Becton, Lewis, McGovern, Van Roten, and Fant should be fine. And they have quality backups in Cameron Clark, Chuma Edoga, and Brian Winters. As of right now, Winters is still a Jet. I've said this before, the Jets don't need to focus on the offensive line. It's done. Douglas has done enough. Focus on the defense. Logan Ryan, maybe. Jadeveon Clowney, it seems like that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I don't want Larry Warford. I don't want Kyle Long. I don't want any offensive player. I want defense. The Jets right now, to me, are like a 6-win team. If they brought in a guy like Clowney or Ryan, that goes up to 7 or 8 wins. But moving past arguments that I've already made, Douglas has tried this before in pulling offensive linemen out of out of retirement. He lured Ryan Khalil out of retirement to be the center for the Jets. really good move on paper. Every Jets fan on earth liked it. The thing is, Ryan Khalil with the Jets was absolutely dreadful. He had a 55.5 overall grade and got hurt week 8. Only played 7 games. I don't know how his Pro Football Focus grade was 55.5. It should have been 25.5. He was abysmal. I'd be hesitant to try this again. Luring another offensive lineman out of retirement, especially one that's been bitten by the injury bug. There's a real chance that Kyle Long gets hurt in September, and that's it. Out for the year. I understand that the Jets have quality depth, but that's money that could have gone somewhere else. Focus on defense, Joe Douglas. That's all you need to do. You did enough to supplement Darnold. Darnold is either going to succeed or he's not. You've put him in a good position to succeed. He just needs to execute. It's all on him now. It's not on Joe Douglas. There were 3 very sad deaths in the football world that I really need to talk about. And I'll start with Rashae Caldwell, who was shot to death during a robbery gone horribly, horribly wrong. While he may not be the most household of names, for 1 year, 2006, Rashae Caldwell was the New England Patriots' best wide receiver. Go back in time for a minute. Caldwell caught 61 passes for 760 yards and 4 touchdowns, tied for the team lead. Tom Brady's best offensive weapons that year were Caldwell, Ben Watson, Troy Brown, Kevin Falk, Corey Dillon, and Lawrence Maroney. Not very good, but Brady made them all look really good. Something that Brady's done his whole career. He makes these average wide receivers look great. And for 1 year, he did that with Caldwell. The 2006 Patriots went on to finish 12-4, and they faced the Jets in the wild card game, but they destroyed the Jets 37-16 at Gillette Stadium. Caldwell caught 5 passes for 50 yards. He was the Patriots' second leading receiver. Their leading receiver was Jabbar Gaffney, who absolutely torched the Jets secondary. I remember that game. Then in the divisional round, they went on to face the Chargers. Caldwell was again their second leading receiver, 7 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Then they faced the Colts in the AFC title game, Manning versus Brady, really exciting. Caldwell, again, second leading receiver, caught 4 passes for 46 yards. That was really only his one good season. He was with the Chargers before that, wasn't that good. Went to the Redskins afterwards, wasn't that good. Tried to latch on with the Rams, didn't work. Got into some trouble with the law. But for 1 year, 2006, Caldwell had a really, really good year. The second guy that I want to talk about really flew under the radar, and he shouldn't have, and that is John Zook. It's okay if you don't remember the name, but Zook was a really good college player at Kansas. He was an All-American in 1968 for Pepper Rogers. His one good year at Kansas. That Kansas team was really good, by the way. They went 9-2, but lost in the Orange Bowl to Penn State 15-14. The MVP of that game was Jayhawks running back Donnie Shanklin. Kansas came very close to winning that game. After that, he was drafted by the Falcons and put together some good seasons. Zook was always a good player. He was never great, except for 1 year, 1973, when he made a Pro Bowl. His Pro Football Reference approximate value was 9, the highest of his career. He was with the Falcons for 7 seasons, but the Falcons with him were really, really bad. They never made the playoffs. They only finished with 2 winning seasons, and then he went to the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals were coming off back-to-back divisional round appearances. Zook probably thought that he could finally get into the playoffs, but he never did. This guy was a really good player, a professional on and off the field, never took plays off, went a mile a minute. In his Pro Bowl season, he was second team All-Pro, second team All-NFC in 73 and 72, so not his Pro Bowl season. He should be remembered as a really, really good player. The final death that I want to talk about is by far the most notable. A guy who you can make the argument for him to be in the Hall of Fame, and that is Ken Riley. One of, if not the best defensive player in Cincinnati Bengals history, and one of the best defensive players of the 1970s. Riley went to Florida A&M and played quarterback, but Paul Brown decided that he couldn't stick there, and he was transitioned over to cornerback. That was one of the smartest decisions that Paul Brown ever made, as Riley started 9 games and had 4 interceptions. He followed that up in 1970 with 4 more interceptions as the 70 Bengals got shut out by the Colts in the divisional round en route to them winning Super Bowl V. And he kept that bullhawk mentality up throughout his career. In 71, 5 interceptions. 74, 5 interceptions. 72 and 73 were bad seasons for him. 75, 6 interceptions. 76, 9 interceptions. In 75 and 76, he had a combined 34 approximate value, according to Pro Football Reference. That 9 interception season was a franchise record for the Bengals until 2005, when Deltha O'Neal broke it. Thank you, Wikipedia. Riley may be remembered by some Jets fans, and I can't say I remember this, but I knew about it. Joe Namath's last game as a Jet took place On December 12th, 1976, the only game that Mike Holovac would coach for the Jets. He took over for Lou Holtz, who was absolutely terrible, tried to install a fight song for the Jets, went 3-10. Oh my God, he was terrible. The Jets that game were abysmal. They got blown out 42-3. Joe Namath went 4 for 15 for only 20 yards. He got picked off 4 times. Riley accounted for half of those interceptions. And then when Richard Todd came in, Riley picked him off once for good measure. Those 3 interceptions in a single game are still an NFL record. It's been tied numerous times. It'll probably never be broken. I don't see anyone getting 4 interceptions. Maybe. No, I take that back. No, I could see someone getting 4 interceptions in a game. It's been tied a lot. Someone could do it, but it'll be tough. That's a tough record. Unfortunately for Riley, he played for the Bengals. And as we all know, the Bengals have had a terrible history. Riley's only season where he played multiple playoff games in a season came in 1981, where the Bengals went 12-4, beat the Bills and the Chargers, en route to losing to the Niners 26-21 in Super Bowl 16. In 1983, Riley wrapped up his career with his second best season. As in his age 36 season, he had 8 interceptions, made his only All-Pro team, but the Bengals finished 7-9, and Riley decided that he had had enough. Incredibly, Ken Riley, despite being one of the best ball hawks of his era, never made a Pro Bowl. I don't know how that's possible, but it's true. After retirement, Riley went back to his alma mater, Florida A&M, as their head coach. In 1990, the Rattlers won the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference title, and in 92 they made the Heritage Bowl, but they got blown out by Grambling State 45-15. Riley would finish his coaching career with a 45-40-2 record. He then became Florida A&M's AD from 94 to 2003. He then retired, kind of faded away. It's really a shame how he's not in the Hall of Fame. I can certainly make the argument for it. In career interceptions, he's tied for 5th with Charles Woodson. Everyone ahead of him, Paul Krause, Emlyn Tunnell, Rod Woodson, and Night Train Lane, are all in the Hall of Fame. And Charles Woodson is going to go into the Hall of Fame at some point. There are guys behind him that are in the Hall of Fame. Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott, Dick LeBeau, Emmett Thomas, Mel Blount, Johnny Robinson. I mean, I could go on and on. I understand that the lack of Pro Bowls hurts him, and the one All-Pro hurts him. But in terms of where he stands on career interceptions, I can make the argument for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Rashay Caldwell was a good wide receiver for 1 year. John Zook was a really good defensive end all throughout the 1970s, and Ken Riley is one of the best ball hawks in NFL history. May they all rest in peace. Tomorrow, I am going to persevere through whatever adversity comes my way, and I will give you the Jacob Valk Show. I promise you that. Until then, I am Jacob Valk saying that I've never pitched in a phone booth.